Hello and welcome to the Powerfish Podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Fish, and welcome back to the number one podcast for financial enlightenment.
Yes, that's why you come here, and it is for enlightenment, specifically in finance. You see, we did a whole. You know that we're financial gurus because of just how much we have drilled DoorDash guy into the ground.
Exactly, and he is the enemy. That's what I have to say.
And this book that we're going to go over today, that I have read and gathered my top 10 things, my top 10 takeaways from it. This book really puts into stark contrast how not good of an idea spending $25,000 in 2 years on DoorDash is.
See, and that's
In
crazy.
fact, that's what the whole book is about.
That's crazy because I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, me too, until I read a book, an entire book about financial freedom.
Exactly. You know, it takes a book to explain those kind of concepts to common folk.
Yeah, so the book is called The Simple Path to Wealth from J.L. Collins. I've never read anything from this guy until this, but it's a really good read. If you happen, well, I didn't actually read it. I listened to it because it is on Audible, and that is how I consume my books. But regardless, this guy is, I would say, comparable to a why am I thinking Gordon Ramsay? He's not the cook. Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. It's one of those Ramseys, man.
Yeah, one of them Ramseys. I would say he's comparable. His message that he puts out is similar to that of Dave Ramsey. Not quite so narrow in scope as to what you can do, though, I would say, in terms of like actually having fun.
Right.
So let's just get right into it. Number 1 out of 10 is avoid debt. Nothing is worth paying interest to own. Now,
Facts.
This one I mostly agree with. So his view on debt, how he explains debt is you're a slave is actually how he explains it. And as long as you are in debt, you are a slave to whatever you are paying. Which I think is a little strong.
I would think that it's a little strong, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a little strong. But it's not like anybody thinks debt is a good thing.
Well, think about it this way, right? And I loosely follow some financial advisors, and they talk about spending within your means. So, like, even if you're taking on a loan, now, granted, if you have the money to cash flow something, why would you not just cash flow it? There are maybe reasons there, but it's a situation where what is for a non-financially healthy person a bad decision might not always be a bad decision for somebody who's a little more well off or has built themselves up. So I don't think necessarily taking on something with interest is necessarily a problem so long as it fits within your parameters.
And you have to be willing. I mostly agree with that. And you should, if you're going to buy something with interest, you should be under the mindset that you are paying the price on the sticker and do the math of what interest you're paying.
Definitely.
Add it to that price. That's what you're paying for this.
Definitely.
If you're still okay with that, you know what? Bob's your uncle.
Or George.
Or, whoever's your uncle. But a lot of the time, that number is going to look a heck of a lot more uncomfortable once you add the interest to that. Which, sometimes there's interest-free stuff. In that case, there's psychological aside, there's no real downside to it.
Right.
That I could see, but just knowing that you are under the burden of debt can be a downside, which in my case it absolutely is.
Did you mean to say that financially there's no downside, but psychologically there could be?
Yes, that's
Okay. Bet.
that's what I was trying to say there.
Bet
But
that.
and that potentially is I need to follow that one more often. Avoid debt,
Let me
specifically interest
let me
debt.
tell you about something that's interesting with my occupation. So we have financing options. But another option we have for people that don't qualify for traditional financing, or if they just choose it, is a rent to own or lease to own program. So it's not financing. Another company will buy the product, and then you rent the product that you picked out from them with lease fees. Is I understand the concept of that, but it gets to be very expensive. But
Same goes.
people still
There's a
choose
lot of
that.
leases. That's a common thing with cars. A lease that, if you so desire, you can roll into an ownership lease to own deals, and they oftentimes are just straight up more expensive than obviously buying the car outright, but even buying the car on a loan with interest. They're more expensive than that. I don't know if that's the same in furniture, but
Right.
either way, a lease to own, if your intention is to own this product, I mean, a lease to owns just seem downright silly to me.
Yeah. I always go through that with people when we talked about the lease to own program. I'm like, this is basically not going to be right. This is not going to get my stamp of approval on it. If you really want to do it, like we're gonna talk through all the additional charges that come with it because it's not even. I mean, it's not even like a percentage base. It's just it's a lot of times just a flat dollar amount too. It's like you just pay
Yeah.
to lease this product until you own it, and if you don't pay, then they just repossess it. I mean, it's
Now, in the case of vehicles, you could you could make the argument that you are lease to owns usually have a term period, like a 1 year lease, 3 year lease, and you're allowed to drive like this many miles in that year, whichever comes first, the miles of the year type of thing. And at the end of that period, whether you hit 50,000 miles on it, or you've had it for a year, you can choose to roll that lease into a loan, which still the amount of time that you are paying that lease adds up to way more than it would have been if you were just paying it down from a loan to begin with. But the argument somebody could make for that is, I didn't actually know if I wanted this. And now at the end of the year, I have fully decided, the dopamine rush of getting a new car is gone, and I'm level headed enough to think about if I actually want this or not. I can give this back after paying several $1,000s to test it out for a year, or 50,000, or however many allotted miles or time you have it for.
I guess for me it really depends on what that actual dollar amount you're paying extra just to try it out. I could see like if it was like I don't even know what dollar amount I would accept, but like for a certain dollar amount that seems reasonable, maybe I try out a car for a year and just see how I like it and really get behind it. But if it's gonna be a lot, then hot diggity damn.
Right. Yeah. There'd be math involved. You'd have to figure out how much more you're paying to lease this for a year and give it back and then try something else than you would be if you were to just get a loan now and try it out for a year. You'd have to figure out that difference to figure what your try it out cost is. And, if you're okay with that, then even if you do decide to roll it into a loan at the end of the year, you still have already paid that lease premium.
I mean, theoretically, so long as you're not upside down on your loan, you could just get a loan and then sell it and recuperate most of the cost anyway towards the loan and just pay it off.
You could,
Which, unless you're buying a brand new car right off the lot and then it drives off the lot and cuts its value in half, then you're probably not going to be upside down on your loan. Except the market is dumb right now. So
I was going to say, except except the last handful of years, driving a new car off the lot.
Well, yeah,
doesn't
specific.
drop its
I
rate
mean,
instantly.
I guess not. Yeah, what did we see that one day? We were looking at one of the dealerships here in town, and there was like
Oh my
a
God.
used
About a
car
year ago.
versus a new car, and it was like not that much different or something like that.
About a year ago, we saw a 2022 Honda Civic for $24,000 with like 15,000 miles on it,
Yeah.
and a brand new Civic MSRPs for like 25, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, used 2-year-old was basically the price of a brand new. So
I'll tell you one thing that I thought was really stupid. So my aunt used that logic, the logic of, well, used prices are close to new prices, to buy her son a brand new vehicle. But that totally does not take into account the fact that you can get an older used vehicle for not those prices either.
I mean, if your intention, I mean, if your budget is like 25 to 35 grand anyway, then yeah, that logic checks out. But if you're trying to get good bang for buck, it doesn't check out.
And that was the situation, which I thought was stupid. But anyway,
that's stupid.
I couldn't imagine just dropping 20K on a 16-year-old driver. But anyway, I could imagine dropping 16K
man.
on myself, and I'm not 16.
20K. Yeah. That I mean, my car was 15K and it was used, but that was it was pushing up and leaning against the wall of what I was willing to pay for a car. Like
Right.
It was the max. I was hoping what we were looking for. I mean, I'm not going to trail off into another car, thing that we.
Yeah, this is a financial wellness podcast, not a car podcast.
Yeah. But real quick, we were looking. My range was $10,000 to $12,000, and ideally under 10 years old and under 100,000 miles. And going into that, I don't think we realized just how non-existent that was going to be.
Well, because that used to be very existent. That was
it used to be easy to do. $10,000 under 10 years, under 100,000. Like that's parameters that are, I thought at the time seemed pretty achievable. But as of early 2024, or was it late 2023? Whatever it was
a while back,
yeah, it was pretty much unachievable, at least in Illinois. So
right,
that was crap. Anyway, so I think we've run this avoid debt as much as you can thing as much as we've run that into the ground at this point. Actually, you and me kind of didn't agree with this. You and me agreed to disagree with the author here when it came to a home, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll mention homes later. So number 2, this one was really interesting to me. Avoid irresponsible people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So don't be around others that aren't going to share your mutual desire to not be broke. That spend without care, go into debt carelessly. If you could reword this to say you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think if you are, surrounded by fiscally irresponsible people, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to do some stupid things with your money too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. I'll give you 2 examples, as a matter of fact. It's a twofer. 2 for 1. So
two for.
I'm not charging you for either, actually, matter of fact. So 2 for 0. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let me get to it before I trail off too hard. So my 1 for is that I got a friend.
You almost made me spit my tea out.
What tea you drinking? What tea we got? What kind of tea you got?
Milo's diet sweet.
That's what I got. I got a jug of it.
I got a gallon just the other hour.
I got a gallon just the other hour. That was one of my. I told you before we started recording. I got errands to run. That was one of them.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was doing at that moment. We were getting the Milo's gallon. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, for those watching, we've probably been both drinking out of some goddamn Milo's gallon or whatever the frick. And you probably
Anyway, so don't continue real quick. If you're listening to this, get yourself some Milo's zero sugar sweet tea. It is
good.
One of the best sweet teas out there. No sugar. It's one of the best.
And I'll tell you what.
Milo's
I'll tell you what.
is good.
I'll tell you what. So I used to be big on the zero sugar Gold Peak, but
that's good too.
I've converted for the most part for two reasons. One, it's the Milo's isn't as sickeningly sweet, and I don't get tired of it as fast. For one, and it's slightly cheaper per ounce, couple cents cheaper per ounce, which isn't much.
From where?
From I think almost anywhere, but Wally World is where I'm.
You're getting okay. How much was your gallon at Wally World?
I got this one at Ivy because I would just happen to be there anyway. But I think it's just over $4 pop.
Okay, I got mine from County Market and it was like $4.20 something.
I think that's about what it is. I think this one from Hy-Vee was about maybe $4.20, $4.25. I think maybe the one at Walmart is either about at that or just under that.
I was thinking it was about 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
Regardless, there's no way you cut it where it's not damn worth it.
Yeah. Dude,
it's good tea.
I just be bringing the gallon to work. I sip on the gallon for like a couple days. That's what I do.
That's a power move.
I
just take the gallon.
I sip straight out the gallon and I just drink it for like a couple days. And that's my drink for a couple days.
That's a power move.
Exactly. All right. One of two for. So So I got a friend who makes absolutely terrible financial decisions. You know the friend I'm talking about. I won't dox her. But
yeah,
I mean, there are times like just go back to like the idea of it's going to make you make bad decisions. I mean, there are times where like I can't spend money. I really need to strap down in this. And then we get on a Discord call and she's like, "Hey, I found this game online. We should check it out. It's like $5. What's $5?" And I'm like, "No, I got strapped down, bro. we gotta lock in. We gotta lock in."
Yeah.
And she's just like, "I know, but like it's $5. What are you broke?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
What's $5 gonna do? You know,
like,
I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
$5.
And then I end up spending the money, and then I always regret it. I mean, granted, I might have a fun time, and I think the thing about video games that does make it sometimes worth it is that you can, especially if it's a replayable game and it's with friends, you can get so many hours of entertainment out of them sometimes. Yeah. But even still, money out of the bank account, you know, it's like that. So then my second of the two for a second time.
Twofer
is actually my girlfriend, which I don't think she's a financially irresponsible person, but she makes a lot more money than I do. So she spends differently than I do.
Yeah, okay. So maybe you could argue that not only just irresponsible people, but people that are in a higher class lifestyle.
You need to get people out of a higher class out of your life.
Yeah.
But no, it's so easy it's just like, well, you know, I don't really want to cook. Well, let's just go through somewhere. Let's just go out to eat. So get some Texas Roadhouse or something because that's good. They got them rolls.
Oh yeah.
But and then I'm just like, well, now hell no. Well, hell no, no. Hey, lately, what I've been doing is if she says to me, we should go get out, and I'll be like, hey, I can't afford to go out. I'll go out if you're buying, but I can't go out if I'm gonna be buying. That's all I say, or at the very least, separate tickets or not tickets, but you know, split the bill somehow.
Yeah.
But usually it ends up being, I forgot my purse. Can you pay for this? I'm like,
now we're gonna lose the house because of these damn Texas rolls.
How are we gonna feed the kids now? Not with these damn rolls, I'll tell you.
Because these are mine. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's not even just irresponsible people. It's just when you're in an environment of frivolous spending, it's hard not to, you know, be a product of your environment.
Well, it's like here's another kind of example of that. So I passively on Shorts, this guy pops up, And what he does is he talks to people who are financially irresponsible and kind of goes through their situation and recommends solutions. And one of the people was kind of arrogant. He was going through their bank statements and just noticed it was nothing but charges to fast food. Granted, I'm also guilty of that. But anyway, that's what their situation was, just nothing but fast food. And he was just like, you're literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You cannot be doing that. You cannot. And, yeah, no, these people are well shitified. And and they're just like, they say shit like, well, you got to eat. And then he's just like, yeah, go to the... Dude, this show, it's people say some insane shit. And then he's just like, have you ever heard of the grocery store? Just go just go in there. You could eat for a fucking month with $100.
Gotta eat.
And then, but then here's the arrogant part. They turn it back on him, and they were like, "Oh, you're a little pudgy. You probably eat out and whatever." And he was just like, "Yeah, I eat out. I eat out probably more than I should, but I can afford it." And that's the difference. That's the difference.
That's the difference. Yeah, there's. Now, point number 3 is going to contradict exactly what's about to come out of my mouth right now, but there is nothing wrong with living an expansive lifestyle if your financial, situation isn't in jeopardy of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, which leads us right into point number 3. Don't live an expansive lifestyle. So, this is more in the beginning of you trying. So let me put this into perspective. All 10 of these are in the pursuit of achieving financial freedom.
Right.
So if you are actively pursuing financial freedom, these are steps toward that. So avoid debt, avoid irresponsible people, and 3, don't live an expansive lifestyle. And dopamine is a real factor when you're buying something, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Your dopamine, no matter if you're a trillionaire or $100,000 in debt, it has a way of just reverting back to baseline no matter what you're doing.
Right.
Over time. So living an expansive lifestyle, whether you can afford it or not, eventually you're going to end up in the same place when it comes to happiness and dopamine.
Right.
So I don't think anybody disagrees with that, but damn is it hard to not give in to those dopamine hits of buying something.
And I'll tell you what, on a personal level, now I get real close to me right now. Let me.
Okay.
So, I, in particular, have the dopamine hits when it comes to food-related pleasures.
Does anybody not?
I think everybody does, but some people regulate it better than I regulate it. But goddamn, it's not only is it just like people get. Like, they call it retail therapy and whatever the fuck they want to call it. But like they get the dopamine hit from buying something. But add to the sensation of like with the food, it's on several fronts, right? First of all, it's a laziness front. Now you don't have to cook. Okay, step 1. Now it's already a dopamine hit. You don't gotta cook. You fucking scot-free. Right. And then the chemicals in the food.
Yeah, the addictive crap of it. Yeah.
No, it's wild. And then they're just like. They go up to a big person, and you're just like, fucking stop eating. Oh, actually, funny fork down. But funny side note, I didn't text you this. So I work at a furniture store, as I've mentioned several times. My boss, who's a very hefty man, was talking to a customer, a client came in. He was talking to an older gentleman, boomer as they say, and this boomer gentleman says to this man's face, he says, "You should carry more heavy furniture and stop eating."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I was like, damn.
In my short of me saying old people ain't got no left to give got dislikes. Come on. Now, is this not further proof of that? Come on now.
Yeah, that just happened like yesterday. It was wild.
That's crazy. Yeah, some people are just really upfront like that, and I would say it sways toward the older generation more than the younger generation.
That's true.
So, but what was his response to that?
Oh, what did he say? He said this. He said, "Well, I don't think my knee would agree with that," meaning lifting the heavy stuff, which had nothing.
So he just diverted from the fact comment.
Well, retail managers, they're not going to actually say anything to a customer.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. Well, all that to say, I sympathize with the big man on people just being like, "Oh, just stop eating then. That's so fucking easy." Because it is not. It's on so many fronts. It's an addictive thing, and it's the same exact thing with buying things. That dopamine hit.
I mean, that's why companies like Shein have and Temu have just detonated in size,
dude. Because Temu or whatever the frick. Yeah. Oh my god, I went on there the other day. I just was like, I want to see what it's about. I know what. I'll see what it's about. Fuck it. I logged in. I looked. I swear to God, I had to do at least five spins on their little because you log in and then they go spin to hit the jackpot, and then you always win, but you never actually get anything. But it's just like you get 100% off. You get an extra 30% off 100, which doesn't make any sense. And it's just like they just throw these wheels at you to get into that gambler mindset of, am I going to get the jackpot? And then you always get it. And then you always get tricked into buying something that still costs money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the dirt cheap crap on Temu and Shein are just like these dopamine hit machines. They're just churning in and shipping out trash that you use gets destroyed because it's the lowest quality product you can purchase, and buy more because it's a freaking dopamine hit and it's cheap as hell.
Right.
So it works. It's a business model. It works.
Yeah.
Don't live an expansive lifestyle. You don't need it.
What's your this kind of goes along the ideas of impulse purchases. What's your biggest impulse purchase?
Are you talking simply price wise? Or are you talking regret or stupidity wise?
I mean, probably price wise, I think. But, if it's also stupid, that's maybe bonus points.
Impulse. So we're talking you see it and within the same day you buy this thing.
Right.
You know what? I think my stupid and regret and price are all aligned here.
Yeah.
It's got to be the $1,250 on a 100 pack of Frisbees.
And
that's got to be it.
The funny thing, I don't really remember that whole situation, but I remember you being so confident that it was a good idea.
Well, the way I justified it to myself in my head was it came with a handful of discs that were worth a really lot. And granted, it had a 2016 Sexton Firebird in it that I got $250 out of. Okay. And a brand new 2020 Tour Series Macbeth Luna that I got 70 out of. So a little bit of that came back. And it also had a Doombird 2, which was a little over 100 at the time, but I never actually ended up selling that one. Regardless, the way I justified it to myself was market value. I could make this back. That didn't end up actually happening.
I mean, the amount of effort it would take to individually piece out all of those discs and sell them.
A lot.
That would be a lot of work.
A lot. Yeah.
But do you think you got finessed, though?
Finessed?
Yeah. How bad are we talking?
I don't really think this was a finesse. I don't think it was that silly of a price for the 100 discs. I just think that for me in my situation, It was just really, really stupid.
It's probably
You can
fair.
buy a Lamborghini for $250,000 and it'll be the best deal of your life. There ain't no finesse in there. But damn, you gotta be an idiot to do that.
Unless you
'Cause-
have that much money laying around.
And right.
Live within your means.
I'm talking about people in our financial situation.
Oh yeah, that would be impossible for me.
250. Yeah, that would be mind-blowingly stupid. You would not be able to pay simply the interest per month on that thing. So, yeah, I mean, being finessed and this being a stupid purchase don't have to be mutually exclusive.
It's fair.
It just was a stupid purchase on my part.
Fair.
It was stupid.
I think one of my most impulse purchases, two come to mind. One of them has a higher dollar value, so I'll mention that one. It was a guitar and amp and case. I paid.
Yeah, you've told me about those things before.
I got an electric guitar, a very pretty one. Very, I don't know about the quality. It was probably fine. But I spent in total that day, I think about $600, which I mean, that's a lot of money. And I was like 17. I was maybe 17. Had my part-time job at the grocery store. And I just woke up one day and said, I'm going to go to the music store. I think, I like looking at that stuff. And I walked out with a guitar.
At the time, that was quite a bit more than one paycheck.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was something. And, and to this day, I don't necessarily regret it because it's like, it's a cool thing to have. But, and it is very pretty. Like if I don't really play much anymore, but if I really wanted to, I could use it as like artwork on the wall. It's expensive artwork, but I could do it. I don't regret it because it's, in the grand scheme of life, not all that much money. And it did get me several hours of enjoyment. And I did use it. I actually did use it as part of our worship group that I was in. So yeah. I guess I got some semi-professional, not paid, so not professional, volunteer use out of it. And the other purchase that came to mind was my e-bike that I spent $400 on. And the only reason I knew it existed was because my coworker came back and he said, I bought an e-bike for $400. And I said, where? And he said, Sam's Club. And I said, bet. And I went and bought it.
That's definitely an impulse.
That was really fucking stupid. But again, $400. And I wrote, and you remember this, I wrote that thing like almost every single day for months. So, I mean,
yeah,
I still got it.
I wouldn't say 400 and the activity that you at least a year and a while ago got out of it and still can get. Yeah. I mean, you don't use it anymore that much, but you could.
Right.
I think 400. I don't think that one's that bad. Impulse, absolutely, but sometimes impulses can turn out for the better.
I'm honestly thinking about getting it over to my new house because we're like right off of the bike trail, like real close, like within walking distance of the bike trail.
Yeah, so you are.
I'm like, damn, I could just hop on there.
Yeah, you just hop on and.
Hey, that fucker's fast. I'll tell you what.
E-bike. I mean, I've never been on an e-bike, but I've driven past people that are riding them, and they're pedaling, and they're flying.
Dude, I'm fucking
in down in the city. I'm like, holy, should I even pass this guy? Like, he's pretty much like straight flying at this point.
Dude, I'll tell you, if I get up on high assist on that, so you have low, medium, high assist. If I get up on high assist and pedal hard, I'm keeping up with traffic.
Yeah, those things fly. So
what was I talking about? We were talking about impulse purchases.
That was impulse purchases. That was still on point number 3 of don't live an expansive lifestyle. So we're just giving examples of how we are not adhering to rule number 3 of trying to become financially independent.
Right.
So
shit's tough.
So step 1, out of debt, avoid irresponsible people, don't live an expansive lifestyle. After you have achieved debt-freeness, point number 4, this is a tough one. Save and invest at least 50% of your income.
Damn.
Holy
shit. Dude, it's hard.
So,
it's for me, at my current wages, it's hard to put away 20%.
So this is coming from the context of you're debt-free at this point.
Fair.
I could do this debt-free. I could do this. Obviously, the more that you put into when he says invest, he pretty much exclusively recommends um, the stock ticker VTSAX, which is Vanguard's total stock market index fund, or VTI, which is another total stock market index fund of Vanguard's. And his whole investment advice pretty much is just throw it all into large scope index funds, and almost exclusively the Vanguard total stock market index fund, which is a share of, or not one share, but a portion of literally every single stock in the market. Penny stocks, S&P 500, everything.
Gotcha.
So we'll get to why. There's another point later down. We'll get to why that actually is a really good idea, even though it sounds incredibly volatile and risky. Volatile, yes. Risky, as we'll find out, no. But 50%, half of everything that you make should go into the stock market or the highest interest storage location that you have. So that's a lot. 50%.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Now, I want to preface this. This book, I believe it was published in 2019, which was right before COVID, which is kind of funny because he does make some like kind of nods and predictions, whatever you want to call it, to like a disaster a year before the stock market like just gets absolutely destroyed in 2020, which it has since recovered to a lot more than it was before its peak of 2020. So didn't end up amounting to anything. As we'll find in a later point here, it never does. But 50%, that will get you. I mean, just think of 50% of how much money you're making. I'm making like 50 grand a year. If I put $25,000 into stocks in 1 year,
if you
that's
like
a ton
dude,
of money.
just think about it. If you put even stocks aside, if you just saved 25 grand a year,
if you just have it,
have it. 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you have a ton of money, and that's not accounting for any interest.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Just saving 50% of your income is already a really good way to assure you're going to have a ton of money.
But how
midlife, we're in our early 20s, midlife, not even to our 50s yet, we would have a ton of money, a ton.
Yeah. But how realistic is 50%?
But
savings?
how realistic is 50% in the year of
our Lord,
the 4 years past COVID?
Yeah.
How realistic is that? For some people, not at all.
Not at all. I'll tell you what. Right now,
if you're completely debt free, I think more people could do it than could at this moment under how much debt everybody's in.
Yeah, no, I think I've done, when I kind of look at my budget, I think about half or just over half of my expenses are already blocked up with obligations. There would be little to negative wiggle room.
Here's the thing. On point number 3 of don't live an expansive lifestyle, are any of those optional? Are there any of those that could be removed?
I mean, or at
least better optimized.
So I will say part of that is a car payment. So that would in this situation would be gone.
That would count as debt.
But that's what that breakdown is for me is car payment, car insurance, rent, utilities. That's basically it, and that's probably half my income right there.
If you just turn your car payment and transfer that to, if you are out of debt, you could assume you'd be spending that on food. So you're already at half. So you investing half of your income means you effectively have little to nothing.
Right. And that is a issue with my current wages because broke and wages suck. But
Right.
that is the current situation I'm under. Now, that's not helped by the fact that we just moved and we moved into a higher rent place. It accommodates us better than we were being accommodated, but expenses aside,
Just about anywhere. Well, actually, just yesterday, the Fed cut interest rates by 0.5%.
Ooh.
So that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't been done in a while. So we'll see how things go in the following months after yesterday. But
yeah,
all the way up until yesterday, rent and housing and real estate has been like all-time high, like unbelievable highs.
Yeah. No, and I don't even think we're paying too much for our place. I mean, we've got a little like townhouse duplex situation, and it's a 3-bed, 2-bath with a 2-car garage, and we're paying like $1,250. I think for now, for like the current situation now, I don't even think that that's that bad, given the market. But still, it's just dollars out of bank account. That's expensive.
And if you're we're living in. I mean, we're not living in
there are people
nowhere.
I was gonna say,
but if you're living in like in Texas, like by Austin, Dallas, or San Antonio, or by Chicago, or by like San Francisco, all these like super cities, you're paying double what we're paying.
Yeah, I was just about to say, anybody that lives in a major city who just heard 3-bed, 2-bath with a 2-car garage for $1,250 just themselves.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna sell my family to move there because I'm gonna save money.
For this area, it's a little bit a lot, but no, for
in the
like
grand
a city,
scheme of the United States right now, we're doing pretty okay for our rent prices.
Right.
Which is sad to say. But yeah, so 50% of your income, for some people, that's tough. Will you gain capital quick? Absolutely. Insanely quick. But that's a tough one.
I think if you can't do that, I mean, this is true for anything, but I think it just comes back to save what you can. Yeah. And even if it is, like I said,
50%, you're flying up. Your net worth's going to skyrocket every year if you do that. But if you can't do 50%, that doesn't mean you do 0%. Right. Yeah. So
which is the habit I find myself in on occasion, which is a bad habit.
Right. So 50% of your income. Number 5, this is a really good piece of advice. Fund any 401k or employer tax advantaged plan that you have. This is good because tax advantaged accounts are very good to max out if you can. And especially employer provided matches are very good to take advantage of if you can.
Right.
Like when we were working at Dick's, if you had full time, they had, I think, like a 5% 401k match. It was really good.
I think AT&T was 6.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
It might have been.
Pretty sure it was 6. Granted, that's a union job. They're gonna get that bargained, but I mean, yeah. That I'm pretty sure I was just talking with some former coworkers from there the other day. I'm pretty sure it's 6. Dude, if you just throw money at that and get that 6% match for like if you're employed there for a really long time, shoo-wee.
Right. And some IRAs are you can only do a max of like $6,000 per year. So still, but if you have the option to take advantage of a tax-free or tax at least reduced or advantaged account, you absolutely should be. Let's see. We're 45 minutes in and we're halfway through these, so we'll move on to the next one. So number 6, during your wealth accumulation, take advantage of market drops. So, for example, if you started trying to become financially independent in like between 2012 and 2020, and during 2020 you see that the market drops like 50% because of COVID, that's when you take your 50% accumulation and crank that shit up. Because the market is, you're getting a hell of a lot more shares for a hell of a lot less money than you would have been.
Right.
So when it recovers, which it always does, you're going to have a lot more. So I think that's a good one. If you see the market plummeting, you need to look at that as an opportunity to buy more rather than I am looking at my money disappear in front of my eyes, which technically you are, but you can't look at it like that because you're going to go insane. You're going to jump out of a window, which a lot of hedge fund managers do
That's
during
fair.
these recessions. So market drops are a good thing when you are trying to build wealth. Number 7, once you can live off 4% of your assets, you're financially independent. So do it. So 4%, if you another way you could look at this is 25 times what you're living off of right now would be 4%. So whatever you're living off of right now, multiply it by 25. That's how much money you need to live if you're going to be living off 4% of your assets. So this one was an interesting one. So since the start of the stock market, since the beginning of our records on the stock market, 96% of the time, if you, in any given year in the past like 100 whatever years, in any given year, if you start withdrawing or living off 4% of all your assets, and that includes interest and any dividends that you might have, if you're in a index fund, you're probably going to be holding shares of a lot of companies that pay out dividends, so that number would actually probably be pretty high. So dividends and interest and just capital growth, for whatever it is, 4% of it, 96% of the time, if you started doing that in any given year, withdrawing 4%, you would grow drastically, even with the withdrawal of 4% per year. There is 4% of the time, I believe it was only like a handful of years that if you started withdrawing 4%, then you would be pulling more than you would be making when it comes to timing of the stock market and going up and down.
Right.
Because obviously 4% of your money is going to be a lot more when your money is really low, if you're in the middle of a recession, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, but 96% of the time, so most of the time, you can be fairly confident, 4%, you can live off it and your assets will still grow. 3% of the, if you withdrew 3% of the assets, there's no chance. Like if you were pulling 3%, there is no years that if you started doing that since the beginning of our stock market where you would not still gain money. So if you want to be 100% certain, live off of 3% of your assets instead of 4%. But, like I said, 96% of the time, you're going to be good on 4%, and you're still going to, your money's still going to go up.
And we're talking about wealthy shit at this point. We're talking about
Right.
people
like
that
I said,
made it.
Whatever you're living off of right now, times it by 25. That's how much money you would need in the stock in the market. So
Right.
if I could theoretically, let's say I want to live off of $30,000 a year. If I'm debt free, that's not going to be a super, I'm not going to be able to buy everything I see, but I can live off it and not have to work.
Right.
So 30,000 a year. What's that times 25?
750,000.
All right. So right now, if I wanted to pull 4% of my assets, I need $750,000, and I could live off of that. Now, of course, $750,000 is a lot of thousands of dollars. That's a lot of money.
That's accurate.
But that's the baseline for me to be able to live off of it. Now, there are points where you can still pull 4% and not live off it. And instead of a full-time job, you have a part-time job.
Yeah.
Like cut that in half and you don't have to work as much. And, obviously you're not going to be growing your assets as fast doing that. So you're not going to get to the point of being able to become 100% financially independent as quickly if you're still working, full time or your normal wage. But you could do that. You don't have to start withdrawing 4% as soon as you hit that number where you would be completely independent.
Well, listen, it's like DoorDash guy, right? We just talked about how he was the enemy. I was talking to him one day.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about this house that he just inherited, and he doesn't know what he wants to do with it. He's going to sit on it. And I was like, dude, it was worth like $460,000. I was like, sell it, put that into the market, and then you could just continue to grow. Or, I mean, you're going to be making money off of that. You're going to be generating. I think we came to like $15,000 to $20,000.
If he had that, yeah, if he had it if he had it just in a money market account at the time, which are like hovering, give or take, like hovering on 5% interest, give or take, a couple points of percents, which is a lot. It's a lot. Like I said yesterday, the Fed just cut interest rates, so we'll see how that goes from here on out. But at the time, he wouldn't even have had to put that in the market, and he would still be making a lot from it. Yeah. If he did put it in the market, if he withdraws 4% from it per year, he doesn't, like $400,000. He's already halfway there to financial independence.
Yeah,
he's halfway there. If he wants to keep working, keep growing, he'll get there before he hits 40. He'll get there in his 30s. This guy could quit his job and live on his own and do what he wants in his 30s. That's crazy.
I couldn't do that.
That's crazy. So, like, I mean, we were talking there. Go listen to this episode, guys, if you're interested in this full story. But I mean, we were saying this. There is no way you can cut inheriting a $400,000 house that isn't deeply, intrinsically life-changing.
Yeah.
There's no way you can look at it where it's not life-changing. So, yeah. Bad things, good things happen to bad people. Moral of the story.
And he is a bad person.
So, right. 4%, as we said, 4% is that number where if you withdraw it, it is safe. And your assets, 96% of the time, will still grow. Number 8. Financial independence is as much not spending money as it is making money. So this is kind of linked with the don't live an expansive lifestyle one. So I don't think we need to linger on this one too much. But it's really self-explanatory. The less money you spend, the more money you'll be able to put towards being financially independent.
Yeah.
So
you know what
you
they
need
say.
to look at it that way.
You know what they say: mo money, mo money.
Mo money, mo money. I mean, just condense this book and put mo money, and you've got it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Now you don't need to read the book. So, yeah, don't spend. Not spending money is just as important as making money. In fact, it can be even more important because you can outspend your making. So, number 9. Once you can live off 4%, live off only 4%, and then start investing 100% of your earnings. So once you hit that number of you can now quit your job and live off 4% of your income, or 3% if you want to be 100% safe instead of 96% safe. And real quick, these numbers are kind of arbitrary. You can take 4% out, and when the market drops, use that as an opportunity to put more money into the market, and then, cut your withdrawal rates to 2%, when you're in the recession for a couple of years. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to live off 4% and then I'm going to die when I'm 90. That's not, you can move it around. It's flexible. If you want to go up to 5% or even 6%, most of the time, those numbers turned out to, your assets would still grow just less of a percentage of the time. Like, it was still like 80 something percent if you withdrew 6% of your assets. So like, sure, these numbers are arbitrary. It's just 4% is kind of that pretty much safest to most money ratio. 96% is a really good safe number to where you're not going to lose money, and 4% is still quite a bit of money depending on how much money you have. So,
right.
But like I was saying, if you are still going to work after you can live off 4% of your income, don't just live off 4% of your assets and throw your income money at like strippers. And this money still needs to go into your assets, and you should be limiting yourself to just 4% or whatever your percentage number chosen is, because right, not only have you proven to yourself that you can live off this 4% number, but if you do decide to keep working, if you invest 100% of all of the money past 4% of your assets that you make, your wealth is going to, we already saw how fast it's going to grow at 50% of your income. Now it's going to skyrocket. So if you invest 100% of your income at that point, that 4% withdrawal number is going to grow exponentially quick. So even if you withdraw only 4%, we'll use my end goal or independence number, $750,000. I'm withdrawing 4% per year, making $30,000 a year, living off it. That number is going to go up. That 750 mil. Goddamn. $750,000 number is going to go up so damn fast if you invest 100% of your income. And now with me withdrawing 4%, and now I have $1.5 million in assets, and I'm still withdrawing 4%. Now I'm making $60,000 a year off of 4% because I have now invested 100% of my income. So it's when you say you can live off 4% of your assets, but invest all of your 100% of your outside income if you're still working, it sounds like, okay, but now I'm just limiting myself. I'm making all this money. I can live off of 4%, and I can add my job money to that, and I'll be rich. It sounds like that's being taken away from you, but it's not, because I just demonstrated, this money, 100% of your income going into your assets, is going to grow that 4% withdrawal number exponentially. So you are going to be able to, still get a more expansive life. You're still going to be making more money from your assets.
Right.
Any way you look at it.
And that's when you buy your
So,
Lamborghini.
and then yes, once that 4% number becomes really high, you know, as we said earlier, now you can live an expansive lifestyle if your finances are at a detriment of it. If that 4% number, if you have 5 million, you know, in the market, that 4% number, you're making over six figures doing nothing.
You know, on the topic of people being kind of just handed wealth, like we were just talking about, you know the statistic of like if somebody wins the lottery or like big ticket lottery, even after taxes, it's ridiculous, and a lot of the
Yeah.
times they end up blowing it.
Right.
It goes to show that if
Dude.
you just put some thought into this, you
Right.
could just be set. You just done.
If you win $1 million at the lottery, it's so. I mean, it's crazy how many people think that you can't live off of like XYZ money. I've heard 1 million. I've heard like 5 to 10 million that you can't live off of, because people think of money as something that can't be used to make more of it, and it's
You know
They
what they
just-
say: more money, more money.
more money, more money, more money, more money. But
God, it
them,
keeps coming
less
back to
money,
it.
less money.
Yeah.
Yeah, for them it's less money. So like, yeah, if you have $1 million cash, you might not make that last until you die. In fact, you probably won't.
Right.
So, yeah, but if you have $1 million invested, like, you're set. You absolutely could live off it. Take 4% out, and I think like what was it? I think he said if you had $2 million in the market at the start of what was it? Like 2005 or like 2000 or something like that. If you had like 1 or 2 million, something like that, and you took out 4% per year, even going through the financial crisis of 2008, going through like 9/11, you would have like $16 million right
Jesus
now.
Christ.
Even with withdrawing 4%, even after these crises that just crisis.
Crises. I think that's right.
Is it crises? Okay.
think
Even
so.
after these crises,
Or is it
that-
crises? I think it's crises.
It might be crises. Yeah, I think it's crises. But even after these crises that just destroy the stock market, if you hold, throw money in when it's low, which he didn't even account for. All he did was, all you do is take out 4% per year and don't think about it. He's like, the growth was still like tenfold in 15, 20 years. So, and when you have $16 million in the bank, that 4% number, if you're withdrawing 4% from that, now you can probably buy whatever car you want because you're making a lot, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So it just goes to show
4% of 16 million is $640,000.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah. That's to the point where I wouldn't know what to spend my money on. Like, you can't spend it. Like, it's
You're just constantly on vacation. I mean, you're just like
you're living at that point you could move and buy a house to where you want to be at vacation. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just having $1 million, not only can you live off that right now, drawing 4% per year, but in 15 to 20 years, you're going to be mind-blowingly rich from doing nothing. So if you can just get to that point, there is nothing you need to worry about. But that's the thing. This is the simple path to wealth. The whole book was getting to that
It's
point.
simple.
Yeah, it is simple, but it ain't easy.
Yeah.
So that was number 9. Deposit 100% of your earnings once you can start living off of 4% of your assets. And the final point, number 10, once your 4% is satisfactory to you, that's the point where you start expanding your lifestyle. And in this instance, he gives the example, only then can you consider buying a house. Once you can completely afford it.
Well,
or having kids or whatever.
I don't know about that one.
That's the thing.
But
I don't because he also says this verbatim. He says this in the book. Houses are not investments. I straight up disagree.
a house is in and of itself an appreciating asset.
Yeah. He doesn't
That
believe
that makes
he
that
does,
makes it an investment.
Yeah. I would say by definition, real estate is an investment. I don't
People
know
make
if
a
he's
dude. People having like a lot of real estate, a lot of land or homes going into the pandemic. Holy shit.
Oh my God. Yeah, people pre-pandemic that owned housing, right now, it is a seller's market because their assets have just appreciated shit fucking mind-blowing fold.
That's that is
Conceptualize that.
That is the actual metric. As a matter of fact.
Yes. Yeah. If he can say real estate is not an investment, then I can say shit fucking mind-blowing fold.
Yeah.
So that's all of them. And like I said, we ended on a note that I don't agree with his view of real estate. And I think, maybe he is right. You should just rent until you're financially independent. And I think in a perfect world, I think most people could do that.
Right.
But it's not a perfect world. Unfortunately, I just don't think.
How in the hell do you expect people to get $1 million almost damn near in a bank before they buy a home? Granted,
That's
yeah,
the
I
thing.
mean, I guess.
This book
But
was
here's the
written
other
in
thing.
2019.
Well, I was just about to say. I mean, yes, rent is really expensive, but it wasn't always this way. So
Yeah, things weren't always like this, and I think it shows in that book. But the moral of the story is, I think, intact. Most of the book I agree with, and again, there he goes through, I think, like 35. There's like 35 chapters of the book, so it's a really big book, and he goes through a lot. There's a lot more than just that, so I would definitely encourage giving it a read.
I think ending on that note is actually good because it kind of puts another moral in it that while we agree with almost all of those points you just mentioned, you're not going to agree with everything with everyone. And I think going into when you're reading like any financial advisor's work or any advisor at all's work, going into it knowing that maybe not everything's applicable and maybe you're not going to agree with everything the person says is kind of a healthy
Right.
way to look at it.
I think you should go into nonfiction books with a critical mind.
Yeah.
Almost always. I don't think you should go into nonfiction books just because they're written by, somebody who obviously is, well, I shouldn't say obviously because this isn't always the case. But even though it's written by, in most cases, by someone who has done a lot of research on this topic or any given topic. So like, obviously their views and opinions are valid, but you shouldn't go in with a mindset of I am student, you are master, tell me what's right. Right. I don't think you should go into anything with that mindset, to be frank. So
I agree.
But so now we're going to be rich, and now you can too. And we're going to title this video accordingly.
Exactly.
So,
You're welcome for the knowledge.
Yeah, you're welcome for the knowledge. Go buy the book, The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins.
Hashtag not sponsored.
No. Okay. Could you even be sponsored by an author?
Yeah,
I
they
guess
could
you
sponsor.
could. They could pay it.
They
Yeah,
have
that's
they
right.
have advertising. They can do advertising.
Yeah, like I guess I've just never heard of a book sponsorship on media like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end it here. We got through those last 5 pretty quickly and cut it at a good time. So
Yeah.
thank you all for watching or listening, whatever you're doing. And I've got some. I've been writing down some ideas upcoming. I'm gonna do another book, rundown overview, whatever that was. Bullet points. I'm reading a book called The 48 Laws of Power from Robert Greene. Very interesting stuff. We might do a podcast on that one. Obviously, we didn't hit our goal of 2 likes and a comment on that other video. Granted, we didn't set a deadline, so it might still happen to eat a Carolina Reaper.
I think that was. Has that video even come out yet?
Yeah,
Wasn't that the last video that hasn't been uploaded yet? That one up.
Was it?
Yeah, no, that you're referring to the video that uploads this coming Monday.
It wasn't the one that was uploaded a couple days ago, Monday?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Well, you guys either have time or don't have time to go like the video.
So yeah, that's right. We don't know what we're doing actually. So if this video exists or not, like I said in that video that might not exist yet, we're probably gonna eat a Carolina Reaper on film, and I have an idea. I have my notepad here. Eat a pepper, and then record a podcast.
Well,
That's the idea. So
yikes!
there's
All
that.
right.
And then we've also got another one on here of us taking IQ tests. And
Yeah.
us basically going through the questions and why we answered what we did, and eventually ending up with what our IQ was. So that's another thing we got planned. So more to come.
yeah.
Exciting things ahead.
Hell yeah.
We'll talk at you next week.
See ya.